Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? Hope you had a great weekend. صباح الخير. شلونكم؟ إن شاء الله كل أموركم طيبة. Okay, let's have a recap about what we have covered previously. So as a recap, we talked about database and we have mentioned the main definitions or main concepts in the entire database system. So let's assume that this is the database system, okay? So this is the DB system. I'm going to use these terms. So you know that DB is the database, right? Database system or DB system. Okay, right. So what we have here, we have the database itself, right? We define database. Who remember what is the database? First, how we can define the database? What does it mean? Collection of related data, okay? The database is a collection of related data. So this is the database. All right, so database, and it can be drawn under shape. Okay, what comes next? Which part of the database system that manages and control access to the database itself? Who said database management system comes next? Yes, Naba. Okay, so next comes the database management system. This is the database management system. All right, DBMS. So what does it mean? It's a program or a piece of software, a software that manage and control access to the database. And what comes next? Which part comes next? Yes, exactly. It's application. Thank you. So it's database application, which provides an interface for whom? For the end user to use the database to get access to the database. This is the end user. So the end user is not aware of whatever happening inside the system. For example, any code, any programming language used for the database, any, for example, processes, operations performed by the system, the user is not aware of all these things. Okay? Internal processes is something else. So whatever the user need to know or need to use, it will be through the database application, right? So the database application provides a channel of communication between the user and the database itself, or the database management system. So this is the end user. The user can be any user, can be, for example, manager, can be employee, can be anyone who is using the database system. Okay, so this is, as a recap, the database, it's a collection of related data. Okay, let me write it because this way you will memorize it better. Okay, more efficiently. Collection of related data. This is the database. And the database management system is the software that is used to provide or software that provides control access or manage access to the database. And the application provides the interface. And for example, communication between the user and database management system. So it's a program or software, okay, that provides the interface. Interface. Okay. And as a whole, it's called a database system. What is the database system then? It's a collection of what database applications interacting with the database management system or the database itself through the database management system. So what is the database? How we can define the database system? It's a collection of applications or database applications. So database applications interacting with the database itself through the database management system. Do you have any question about what we have covered previously, what we have discussed? Is it clear? So database includes all these parts or essential parts of the database system. Okay, great. Now, we have mentioned previously some examples of database applications. We mentioned many examples, and there were so many examples in our daily life, like, for example, when purchasing from a supermarket, when studying at university, when using our credit card, right? What else? We have mentioned many examples. Using database currently as many applications, right? We are using database like, for example, purchasing online, booking a flight, right? Studying, adding, dropping courses. Okay, so let's go back to the chapter slide and see what we are going to cover today. All right. Right. So we have discussed the main definitions of database system, and today we are going to differentiate between the file-based system and the database system. All right. So we will discuss the meaning of file-based system and what are the limitations of file-based system and why we need to replace it with a database system. Okay. Then we are going to talk about the database management system, the functions of database management system, and the components, the main components. And in the end, we will talk about advantages and disadvantages of database management system. Okay, now we have mentioned all these things, database applications, and examples. We said you can, these are just examples, okay? So we can use the database, purchasing from the supermarket, credit card, Okay, like for example, a holiday, booking a holiday from a travel agent, like local library when we are borrowing a book. We need to get data and information about the book, details about the reader, reservations. All right. There will be reminders by the system, it's automatic reminders by the system itself, and there will be barcode readers also. Taking insurance is another example, like entering some personal details, the cost of insurance, and there will be many databases or several databases available on the system or the internet. For example, so just they will select whatever suits the client. Renting a video also another type. It's like just like renting or borrowing a book. There will be title, there will be details, there will be availability, there will be dates, and so on. So all these sorts of data are stored in the database using the internet. You know that the internet also, there is something we call machine learning, right? In the internet, when you are searching using Google, have you ever noticed that Google understands whatever you are preferring? For example, when you are purchasing something, there will be system predictions, right? And based on your preferences from a previous purchase or a previous search, let's say, it will display or give you some suggestions, right? This is kind of artificial intelligence or machine learning. So you are using this because there will be some data about your preferences stored in the database. Okay? So the machine will be learning from your previous search or from your activities. Okay. So there will be many database applications, online bookstores. For example, when you are browsing, when you are using Google Scholar, for example, you are browsing using some categories, author names. So many examples here. There is something we call cross-referencing. Do you know what is the meaning of cross-reference? When the piece of information related to multiple references, or it's related to different categories at the same time. For example, when we say we are looking for a flat, okay? We are going to rent a flat, and this flat must be in the city center, okay? And it must include, for example, 2 bedrooms. There must be 1 garage, okay? There must be, and it must be close to the main supermarket. So how many references, how many categories I listed now? I mentioned many, right? So when a system needs to search for you for something particular thing, okay, yeah, it needs to refer or to be referred to different categories. So it will find the final result this way. So this is the meaning of cross-referencing or cross-reference. Okay. All right. We will talk about it later on also. Even studying the university, you are having some, for example, processes. You can add courses, you can display your timetable, you can use your personal data, right? You can add course, drop course, and so on. So there will be student information stored in a database, courses, many kind of data about or related to students, courses, sections, and so on. Now, let's talk about file-based system. File-based system, we mentioned before that it's the first attempt to computerize or automate the manual filing system. You know that the manual filing system, we start with the manual filing system. It's like providing a file or box file for every division of the organization, okay? So there were like a huge amount of data and many problems in the manual filing system, which force the organizations to think about a more convenient way or more effective way to store the organization's data. So the first attempt to computerize or to automate this system is the file-based. What is the meaning of the file-based? The file-based itself is a system, okay? It provides number of application programs, okay, related to each division of the organization. So collection of the file-based system meaning is a collection of application programs, okay? And each program perform specific services, right, to the end users. For example, when we talk about the University of Bahrain, if we want to understand the meaning of the file-based system, there will be a registration application program. This is one, okay? It performs some services to students. For example, adding courses, dropping courses, all right? So this is the application program related to registration. Same thing with the admission, for example, application programs, program, sorry. And what else? We have also, for example, when the students need to pay, yes, exactly, Qasim. When the student need to pay, for example, there will be for account, like, okay, or accountant. There will be many divisions, many application programs related to the organization. So each application program will be performing specific services, and there will be no relationship between these application programs, okay? Which means that every application program is responsible of managing its own data and nothing to do with other application programs. Imagine that you need, for example, to pay something, okay, pay for a course. You need to go through the process in two divisions or in two applications. Okay, so they need to get your information twice, right? So imagine how complicated is the process in the file-based system. So each program defines and manages its own data. It's obsolete, of course, because it's the first attempt, of course, to make this system. So the problems arise in the file-based system, okay, was the reason to convert the file-based system to a database system. So let's talk about the limitations of the file-based system, or maybe let's understand or have a better understanding about the file-based system, then we will talk about the database system. In the file-based system, when you search about something, about a particular thing, okay, you need to go through it from the first entry. You know the main difference between the tape and the CD, or the you know the tape, right? The tape, when we record any music, any kind of music using that old version of media, the cassette we call it, or the VHS. When we capture a video, for example, we used to have something we call VHS. الأشرطة القديمة اللي فيها شريط، اللي هي شريطة لونها بني. Okay, so it was very old technology. And it's the same idea here. When we want to go to the first, for example, song or the first track, let's say, we need to go through everything recorded on the tape, right? This is the same, file-based. The entry, when you are searching for something, you need to go from the first entry till you find whatever you are looking for. Okay, so there will be also, there must be indexing system. When you want to find something, there is a sort of indexing system you are referring to. So as we said, as we mentioned, it's managing its own data. Okay, so there will be separate folders for different types of items. Okay, and it's logically related, but still every application program manages its own file and has separate folders. It will work well only if we have small number of items stored. Okay, still it will work well if there are large numbers of items, but only we need to store and retrieve them. There will be nothing more. But what will happen in case there is a cross-reference? I mentioned this before. Cross-reference means the item is related or it's linked to many references or many many categories. Okay, so what will happen in the file-based system? It will break down. There will be error. This is the main problem with the file-based system. It cannot deal with cross-reference items. It cannot process this large number of items that's related to different categories. All right. So as an example, I gave you this example. If a flat, for example, contains 2 bedrooms, and it must be in the city center, the location, the number of rooms. What else? Yeah, the distance from a main supermarket, for example. So all these are categories, right? Yes, garage availability, if there is a garage or there is no garage for the car. Okay? Yeah, the floor, exactly. So there are so many categories here, right? So the system, the file-based system will break down. It cannot handle cross-referencing or cross-reference items. Okay. So it will be difficult to answer the following questions. These are just examples for you, okay? These are just questions. It will make you think that, oh yes, it cannot be handled by the file-based system. So it's very difficult to answer these questions. What 3-bedroom properties do you have for sale? See how many categories in this question, okay? Can you count? Can you count with me? What 3-bedroom? 3-bedroom, this is the size, right? The size of the apartment or the property. 3-bedroom. Okay? Do you have for sale? For sale is another category with a garden and a garage. This is 3, right? And the garage is 4. So how many categories? 4 categories. All right. The next question. What flats do you have? Flats, this is 1. The type, right? Flat. So flat, this is number 1. Do you have for rent? Rent or sale? This is number 2. Within 3 miles of the city center, this is the distance. So how many categories in this question? 3. Yes, Alia. Yes, Qasim. Exactly, Batul and Zain. Okay. The next one. What is the average rent for a 2-bedroom flat? How many categories in there? Average rent for 2-bedroom. Yes, exactly, 2. So rent and size. The next question, what is the total annual salary bill for staff? Yes, two. What are they? Total? Yes, exactly. And the staff. Total salary and the staff. The next question, how does last month's turnover compare with the projected figure for this month? So last month and this month, right? And there will be comparison. The next one, what is the expected monthly turnover for the next financial year? So expected and the next financial year. So see how many references are coming crossed in these questions. So it cannot be handled by the file-based system. That's why we need to convert it to, there was a need. Yeah, it will be broken. Yes, exactly. So there was a need, essential need to convert this system, lead system, to a database system, because all these things will be solved or can be solved by the database system. It will be centralized, it will be integrated, okay, and no limitations will be there. Now, the file-based system is decentralized approach, okay, decentralized approach, and it must be assisted by a database processing staff. There must be a staff, DB. It's called DB staff, data processing staff. All right. So each department stores and controls its own data, as we mentioned, and there will be an assistant. There must be a person there who handles the data processing. Okay. There is an example here in the book. You can refer to the book. This example about the file-based system, the dream department example. Okay, there are some forms to be filled by whom? By the database, or sorry, the data processing staff, or the data processing person. Okay, so forms filled by someone who is the DB, sorry, the DP, not DB. He is the data processing person or staff. Right. So what kind of file in the file-based system? Let me write it here. So what kind of items we need to look at in the file-based system? There are the file-based system, the elements, the main elements of the file-based system. Let's talk about it. There will be three main elements. Okay? Three main elements. ليش أنا رسمت دي؟ There are three main elements. Okay. File. Okay, the file, it's the main thing, the file, because it's file-based system now. It's a file-based system, so the main element is file. Okay, so each piece of data or each data will be called file. For example, for this example, dream department, there is a file related to, for example, houses. Okay, houses, and another file related to flats, for example. So file is the main elements here. The next one is, and the elements which come under the file, it is called the records. So every file includes number of records, which includes or contains some logically related data. And there are in the records, it can be connected through fields. Okay, imagine that. شو نتخيل الحين أقول لكم. Imagine that we have a table. Okay, table. The table is file, right? And there are number of records in the file. The records are the rows. الريكورد شنو هما؟ الصفوف اللي في الجدول. فالجدول هو، تخيلوا الفايل هو عبارة عن جدول. This is just an example to make it clear, to make it better, sorry, to make it clear to be understood by you. Okay, so it's not a table, it's just an example. Alright, اتفقنا؟ مو أحد يقول لي أنت قلتي دكتورة table، لا أنا قاعدة أقول لكم مثال. تخيلوا imagine that the file is the table and the records are the rows of this table. And how about the fields? How about the fields? Just similar to what? Which part of the table? تخيلنا جدول، الجدول هو الفايل. الريكوردز هم شنو؟ الصفوف records اللي احنا نمليهم، يعني مثلا record number 1 record number 2. Fields is the third element, fields. So file, record, field. In the relational system, file is the table or relation. Records are rows, الصفوف. And fields are what? Columns. Okay? Fields are columns. كنا الأعمدة. So each record contains some collection of fields, one or more fields. And each field represents some characteristics of the object. خل أعطيكم مثال ثاني. Okay, خل أسوي هني بس على أساس I will give you an example here. So in the file-based system, we have نصير نكبر هذه. Okay. So in the file-based system, what we have here, we have the main files. We have, I will draw it as this, okay? أساس نقارن. We are going to compare now. Okay, what are the elements of the file-based system? Okay. So what we have? Okay, so we have three. We have three, right? The main element is file. And the file includes a collection of what? Collection of records, right? Sorry, records. And the records includes number or one or more fields. And the fields represent some characteristics about each object, okay? Fields. طيب. So this is the file-based. Alternatively, we can use this in other systems. For example, for the database system, we can say there will be table, okay, and there will be rows and there will be columns. Okay, we can say that. Alternatively, there is table and then there is records. It's like rows and fields like columns. Alternatively, in the entity relationship, this is in the database relational model. Relational model means table or relation. Okay, table can be known also as relation. In the entity relationship model, it can be as entity. Okay, and I'll give you an example after a while. Entity, and then the record can be as the fields or attributes. Okay, entity relationship model. It cannot be actually this way. Attributes, let's say records are data to be entered. Records are data to be entered and data related to the attributes. Okay, and then there will be the attributes. Attributes are can be as fields here. All right. So data related to the attributes. All right. So what is meant by all this? When you are using a file, and forget about this, just to make you understand it, the file, we said it's like the table, right? It's like a table. And each table includes number of columns, okay, and number of rows. These are columns, and these are rows. Okay, let's imagine that we have 2 or 3 columns, 3 rows, 3 records. So 2 records here. What comes in the top? For example, this relation or this file is about the student. So we have student ID, we have student name, right? We have student major, yeah. We have student email, for example. So all these are what? All these are fields. So these مش كلها نفس اللون. Okay. Opacity color. خلاص أسوي باللون الأحمر. So these are like fields. Okay. All these are fields. It's it's like provide some characteristics about each object. The object file. This is as a whole is file. Okay. This is a file, and these are fields. How about the records? These are records. يعني each student, for example, Naba, your ID, your name, your major, and your email. This is record number 1. For example, Qasim, record number 2, ID, name, major, and email. Got the point? So the elements, the main elements of the file-based system is like file, including the object as a whole. Then it contains number of or collection of records, which are data. Data entry. You are entering, for example, we are entering the student ID, the student name, major, in records. Okay, so these are records. Okay, these records and the fields, and each record includes a number of fields. Okay, Qasim, your question is no relation between theme. What do you mean by theme? Between them. You mean them? Ah, okay. It's okay. No. It's connected. Of course, there is a relationship between them, which means the record. This is one object. We are talking about one object, Qasim. If we are talking about another relation in another department using the file-based system, there will be no relationship. For example, in the file-based system, this table or this file, okay, related to registration, okay, to the registration department. Another file or application, there will be another one related to the department itself, okay, for the advising purposes. Okay, the student will have to fill, or the data processing staff will have to enter the student data again, because there is no relationship between the department, or for example the advising system, and the registration system. There is no relationship. This is in the file-based system. All right. Okay, so sorry. Now let's go back and talk about some limitations of the file-based system. All right. Oh, let me go to that slide. لازم أسوي unshare, stop sharing the whiteboard, and then I share. Okay. So as we said, the file-based system worked well when there is only small amount of data, but it will break down if there is large amount of data with cross references. Okay. Now you got the point of what is the file, what is the record, what is the field. All right. And this slide will show you. All right, perfect. This slide will show you the example, the dream house example from the book. Okay, it's representing two divisions or two departments, and sales department has totally different application program, and the contracts has different application program. Each application program handles its own file or data. Okay, and the file is also saved or stored separately in the database. Can you see? It's totally separate. Okay, there is data isolation. Yeah, it will waste time, of course. So it was the first attempt, the first attempt of improving the file system. All right, so each department accesses its own file and handles its own data entry, file maintenance, and generates its own reports. There is no link between these applications or application programs. So the sales file, let's say, for example, sales files will be property for rent. And property for rent, there will be a number of fields like property number, street, city, postcode type, and so on and so on. So how many sales files are there? 3, right? Property for rent, private owner, and there is client. See, they have, both applications have two files in common, right? They share the same files, but still it's separately stored. And there will be repeated data, duplicated data. So property for rent is included in the sales files and contract files. So there is property for rent, and the client as well, client and client. But see, client in the sales file includes different fields related to the sales department. Got the point? So every time in the sales files, they will get information or data from the clients. At the same time, when the same client needs to have contract, for example, record, he will be also asked or requested to provide his personal data. So which wastes time and money and efforts and everything. Okay, it's useless. Okay, so let's talk about the limitations. Because of these limitations, there was an essential need to convert this obsolete system to a database or to a more effective system. Right, limitation number one, separation and isolation of data. You note that here, right? The data is isolated from other departments in the sales. For example, from the sales application program, the data is separated from the same data or the same related data. Similar data will be stored twice here. And the data stored in the sales will be isolated from other departments. So each program will maintain its own set of data, and there will be no way to access this data through another department or through another application program. So for example, users of sales department here, users of sales department are not aware of the files stored in the contract department. Okay, this is an example here. And limitation number 2, duplication of data. Number 1, isolation and separation of data will lead to duplication of data, right? Because if we isolate the data in the, for example, sales department, there will be a requirement in another department or another application to get the same data, right? So it will be duplicated. So same data will be held by different programs, and it will waste space, waste time, waste effort, okay, waste money also. Because there will be there might be different file format required. So, you know, if you are entering some data in an application, accepting specific formats, file formats, it doesn't mean that it will accept it the same format in another department. So it will waste time, it will be in different values and different formats for the same item. Waste money, waste effort, loss of data integrity. The data will be no longer consistent. So this is another limitation. Here an example: if a member of staff moves house and change the address, okay, he will be communicating with the personnel, not with the payroll. So the pay slip will be sent to a wrong address. It will be not updated in both systems. Got the point? For example, he changed his address, okay, and he want to get payroll. It will be the pay slip. It will be sent to a wrong, because there is two different application programs here. Okay, he updated the address in the personal, but it's not reflected in the payroll system. Got the point? So this is kind of conflict. Another example, employee is promoted with an associated increase in salary. There will be an error, okay, and it will take time to be resolved because of these loss of integrity and consistency of data. So not every program is linked to or will be reflecting the modification or the update. There will be no automatic way to update it. So it must be updated manually, which takes time. Yes, every record in every application programs. Yani if we have the same record, it must be updated in every corresponding applications, okay? Data dependence is another limitation. The data will be depending on the code, or, you know, in the file-based system, the file structure is defined in the application code itself. So whenever you need to change the structure, it will it will waste time in changing the code. Okay, so the program code or the application code is the file structure is depending on the application code. Okay, this way, anytime they need to change something, they need to update something, they need to change the file structure, it will cost time to change it from program code, because it depends on the program code. It's not independence. The data is not independence. It's depending on the code. So it will take time to change the file structure. Incompatible file formats, I mentioned that it comes in different languages. So the file which is used in sales application or sales department has different format and cannot be used in contracts department. Okay, which will require to enter or recreate the file from scratch. And the last one, it will be fixed queries. Okay, and we will finish here. Next time, inshallah, we are going to talk about the database system and database management system and the advantages and disadvantages. Maybe it took a bit long time to cover this chapter slide, but I need to make sure that you understand all the concepts because it's like a base, you know, the base that we are going to build on that base. Otherwise, if you miss some points here in chapter number 1, you are not going to find it easy to understand the next the next concepts or the next chapter slides. So I will stop here. Thank you for attending today. Inshallah, after we finish this chapter slide, I'm going to give you an activity that it's like a link, and you're going to interact. There will be no marks, okay? But just for to have and to understand the information in chapter number 1, okay? It's easy, straightforward chapter slide, but all concepts related to database must be explained and understood. So any other question? Any question? Any other question? He didn't ask me. So do you have any question? Do you have any question? All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. So see you next time, inshallah. You are welcome. شكرا على حضوركم اليوم. Take care of yourself and be safe. Thank you. Goodbye.